Well, welcome to another edition of the Sunday Sunshine Show. If you've not been here before, it's four YouTubers that collab regularly. Myself, Busy Bee Marie, who lives in Las Vegas, Maria Crocker and Geordie Grandma, Karen from Geordie Grandma. We get together once a week on a Sunday morning and do a little collab, and we call ourselves the Transatlantic Housewives. And we do have guests on the show, but today we're not having guests today. We're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. What we've done is we've done a Q&A. Now, the Q&A, we've put the questions together ourselves. We've all put a few questions in, and it's just gone off my iPad. It was... the questions were I put on the iPad. Anyway, also what we're going to do, which is we're each going to challenge another YouTuber to answer the same questions. So you'll be able to watch them later on in the next 2 weeks. They're going to put it up. When my YouTuber puts it up, I'll let you know. Anyway, what the idea behind the YouTubers is, we're not big YouTuber. We haven't got lots and lots of subscribers ourselves, but we do want to try and help new YouTubers, because it's very hard when you first get going. It's quite a hard thing to build up your numbers, your subscribers. So any help that we can give anybody, we'd like to, all of us. So anyway, let's get on with the questions. Right, the first question is, what country would you most like to visit? Well, years and years ago, when I was younger, I always wanted to go to Australia. I don't know why, I just fancied, that Sydney Opera House view is like iconic, isn't it? But I don't think I'd want to go there now. I'm not as bothered because it's such a long flight. I don't think I would, unless I was going first class, which I probably never would. So the other place that I've always wanted to go is Singapore, which isn't quite as far, is it? Is it about halfway? I don't know. But I've heard so many good reports about it being so clean and nice, and it is a place that I would love to visit. I do believe it's very expensive, but I think there's probably a lot to see there, so and it's got quite a lot of history to it. So that's my first answer. Some of these answers are going to be quite quick and some probably longer. Right, on to the second question. What was my first job? Well, my first job was working in a little cafe in Cleveland. My dad died when I was 11, so we didn't have a lot of money, as you can imagine. There wasn't the benefits in those days that there are now. And my mum had about 3 jobs. And one of the jobs was working in this cafe in Cleveland. She used to waitress in there. And I got a job there when I was 12, I think. And it was just on the till. And then you got promoted from being on the till to... being a waitress. Well, first it was a table cleaner there and waitress. I ended up being a waitress. But the first day on the till, it was awful because it was one of these old tills, with the buttons that you press down. And I was nervous because, I'd not worked before and I didn't know anybody really. Anyway, I think it's a funny job to give somebody who first starts there a job on the till. I don't think they do it nowadays, but they did in those days, and people would bring the receipts to me and I'd just, use the till. Anyway, the first day I'm there, I pressed down on these things and went to shut the drawer like that, these old drawers that they had. And this part of my hand, like that, got trapped in the drawer at the side. Well, I didn't dare tell anybody, and my hand was stuck in the drawer, couldn't get the till open. This bit was just stuck in the drawer. It was awful, it was so embarrassing. Anyway, in the end, I had to call the cafe owner over and say, excuse me, I've got my hand stuck in the till. They couldn't get it out. I thought I was going to have to call the fire brigade or something. Anyway, eventually, they did manage to get it open. And I'd got this bit that had was squashed together there. It was all blue and it was so painful for such a long time. But anyway, you know, I worked there for quite a few years. I think I worked there till I was about 16. So used to work every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday. So it provided me with a little bit of spending money through those difficult years, you know. So that was my first job. Right, on to the next question. To keep getting the glasses out. And of course my iPad goes off every time. Right, the favourite film from the 80s. Well, because I'm in my 70s, I had to try and think what films were in the 80s. So I had to Google it because I couldn't remember. And I was surprised at how many films I did know and watch from the 80s that I really liked. There was E.T., but I have to say my favourite film at the time was Die Hard. I loved it. I loved that film. We watched it over and over again. I'm not sure whether Home Alone was from the 80s, but that was another one we watched over and over again every Christmas, you know. But I did love Die Hard, you know, Bruce Willis. I thought it was a fab film, you know. So that's my favourite film from the 80s. It was surprising what films there were in the 80s that I'd watched. Who would you like to play the movie? Who would you like to play the movie of your life? Now, this was a really difficult one because I don't really, you know, I don't think anybody wants to play the movie of my life. So I had to think of actresses that I really like. Well, obviously, I love Goldie Hawn, but she's older than me, so I don't think she'd play the role of my life. So I came up with Cameron Diaz because I do like a lot of her films and she is younger than me, so I thought of Cameron Diaz. I did sort of wonder about Kate Hudson, but I think I think Cameron Diaz I would get to play my life. The scariest thing I've ever done. Oh, now I had to think about this. And you know, I think it's starting this YouTube channel because I was very nervous about it. It's not something, it's a bit out of my comfort zone. But during lockdown, I watched so much YouTube and really liked it. And I kept thinking, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. And then one day, and I think it was after the lockdown, well, I think it was a year last September, I think. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have a go at doing it. So sitting down and doing it, you know, it was a nightmare and I didn't know how to edit. So it had to be like a one-shot one. So I had to keep filming the same thing over and over again every time I made a mistake because I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing it on my phone, still do everything on my phone. I must try and learn to do it on my laptop, but I still do everything on my phone, which takes ages. But I did find that really scary. And I can remember, I thought, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody. So I didn't really tell anybody. I think I might. Did I tell my daughter? I'm not sure. But I can remember when I got to 100 subscribers, I was delighted. I couldn't believe that 100 people wanted to watch me. And I think I sort of did autumn hauls. I'm trying to think what I did. I think I bought a lot of candles in those days to show them on the channel. But I think that was the scariest thing I've ever done because I'm not an adventurer where, you know, I don't like roller coasters really. When we went to Vegas, when it was my friend's 70th, and I did feel awful letting her down. She wanted to go on, you know, the zip wire. There's a zip wire all the way down Fremont Street. And I reluctantly said I'd do it with her. But when I got there, I was so scared. I said, oh, I can't do it. I mean, she was really good. We met another lady there and she went on with it. So she was really good. But I did feel like I'd let her down, but I just know I couldn't have done it. And like, Sandy's a bit of a daredevil. She was okay. So that's the scariest things, I think. Was that the question I was answering? I can't really remember. Let me have a look. What historical figure would you like to have dinner with? Well, I couldn't think of any historical figures that I really would be interested in having dinner with, to be truthful. Probably I'd love to have dinner with Princess Diana, but then so would everybody else. So the person that I'd love to have dinner with the most is Norman Wisdom. I know he's not a historical figure, but I'm cheating a bit. I love Norman Wisdom. I've always loved him. From being a little girl, he was my favourite comedian. And I know it's very slapstick now when I watch it and it seems very silly, but I loved it when I was growing up. And I read his life story, and he's had such a sad life in a way, because I think him and his brother, they were sort of brought up on the streets type of thing. And then he went in the merchant, I think he went in the Merchant Navy, and then he went in the army. And that's how he started doing his comedy act, really, because, you know, like they do these, I've forgotten what they call, but these shows in the army. And then, you know, he had sort of a sad life at the beginning, and then he met his wife, and then he got children, and she left him, and he brought up the children, and he gave up a lot of his career to bring up his children. He lived in the Isle of Man, and then he got offered, do you remember Some Mothers Do Have 'Em? Well, that part was written for Norman Wisdom, but he didn't take it up. I often wonder if he ever regretted that, you know, because it really launched Michael Crawford, didn't it? But, you know, he's such an iconic comedian. And I remember seeing him, I think it was on the Michael Parkinson show, when he was in his 80s, and he still did his, you know, his falls that he did. And when he got his honours from the Queen, he tripped up on the way out, you know, like he did, and the Queen was laughing. I just thought, it's so nice. I'd love to have dinner with him and talk to him. So that's the person I would like to have dinner with. And I think he's historical. So you have to do. Right, let's go. This is going to be longer than what I intended, really. Right, how did I first meet my husband? Well, I met my husband, was I about 19? I think I was 19 when I met him, 18 or 19. I think it's 19. And it was a local pub that we used to go to in Cleveland. It was called the Vic, Victoria. And in those days, it was the place to go. They had live bands upstairs and downstairs. And upstairs was a little dance floor and you could dance. And everybody used to go there. And I was actually there with another boyfriend. And Bob, my husband, came over and sat chatting to us for quite a while, really. And then, you know, I split up with that boyfriend, and I did like him. My friend was having a party, and she asked him and his friend to the party, and that's really how I started going out with him, from this party, you know. And then we went out for 3.5 years before we got married. I think, how long were we engaged? I think we just engaged a year, so I think it's probably 2.5 years before we, I got married when I was 22, and I think I got engaged when I was 21, you know, so that's how I met my husband. I won't keep going on, I could talk forever, couldn't I? Right, what's my most embarrassing moment? Well, my most embarrassing moment, I do know what this is. Years ago, well, I suppose it always happens, round about Christmas, there was lots of burglaries about, and I had hidden the children's toys. They were in our bedroom, in like a cupboard up above in our bedroom, and my bedroom door locks from the inside. So anyway, this particular day, I'd gone to town with my daughter. She was only quite young, and when we came back, it was a bit dark, and my bedroom light was on. There was nobody in the house, and I said, there's somebody in my bedroom. So anyway, we went in the house, and I went upstairs, and I tried the bedroom door, and it was locked. And so I was shouting, come out of here, who's in here, who's in here? And nobody came, you know. And so I shouted to my daughter, Hayley, ring the police. But I didn't really think she would. She was only about 7. Well, so I'm shouting and knocking on the door, and she must have rung the police. Anyway, of course, a child of that age ringing the police saying we've got a burglar. So anyway, I'm trying to get in, and my next door neighbour came round, and it was like Hawaii 5-0, honestly. There was about 5, I mean, nowadays they probably don't even have 5 police cars, but there was about 5 police cars zoomed up the road because he thought this child came in and ran upstairs, and I went, I said, well, I said that I can't, I said it's locked from the inside, and it definitely wasn't when I went out. And I said the lights on and one thing and another. Anyway, they banged on the thing. They went in the other bedroom and were hanging out the windows. And they said, well, we'll have to break the door down. And I came downstairs and I just looked at the kitchen unit, and on top of the kitchen unit was this key for my bedroom. And I went, oh, the key's here. It was so embarrassing, honestly. It was really embarrassing because there was all these policemen. All the neighbours were out, like you can imagine, when there's all, because they were all running in, all these police. And what had happened was my son, on his paper round, because there'd been a lot of burglaries, they knew that the Christmas presents were in there. I didn't know they knew, but they'd obviously been looking for them and found out it was some sort of, it wasn't a PlayStation, but it was, I think it was a Commodore 64 or something like that. And he knew, and he went on his paper round, and he must have thought, oh, I'm going to lock the door so nobody can steal my Christmas presents. Well, it was so embarrassing. That's my most embarrassing moment. I had to say to the police, well, the key's there. Somebody must have locked it. And they weren't in the bedroom, of course, there was nobody there. And I hadn't tidied the bedroom before I went out, which was most embarrassing. So that's my most embarrassing moment. This video is getting quite long. Right, let's see what the next question is. What's my pet peeve? My pet peeve is table manners. I don't know why. I think my nana was brought up in service. Well, she was in service when she got to 13, like they used to. She was one of 20. So she said they all went out into service when they got to 13. And she was, at the local hospital, she was the matron's maid. And so she was very, I always thought she was like a lady. She always liked to drink out of a teacup and saucer, not a beacon as she called them. And she was very hot on table manners, because I think, you know, so I've been brought up that way. Cannot stand anybody licking the knife. I hate it. I can't stand it if they don't put the knife and fork together at the end of the meal. Just things like that. It's really, I know it's silly, it's just me, how I've been brought up, and I hate it. I hate it. When I first got married to my husband, he didn't put his knife and fork together, and I used to get really cross, and then he'd sort of wipe round his plate with his bread, which I know lots of people do, but that used to irritate me as well. So it's just my pet peeve, that. I'm sorry about it if it's offended anybody. Outside your family, what are you most proud of, or your proudest moment? Well, I had to think about this, but I think this one might be a good one, because I went to the Buckingham Palace garden party. Through my work, I worked in the civil service, and sort of as you get towards retirement, they invite so many people to the royal garden party. So I did get invited, and because my daughter was under 26, she could come with me, and my husband came. I mean, he was in the wheelchair at the time, you know, but it was lovely, and he loved it because, you know, it's just a special thing, isn't it? It was really, really nice. And yes, they do have cucumber sandwiches. I was surprised, but they do. It was lovely. It was really nice. And it was a lovely day. So I really enjoyed it. So that's my proudest moment, I think. So apart from, you know, my children, obviously they're my proudest moment. My proudest moment in my family was probably my daughter, when she graduated. She graduated from Liverpool, Lancaster University, with like a geography degree, and then she went to drama school and went to the Paul McCartney Drama School, and she graduated from there as well, and Paul McCartney actually gave her a certificate. So that was really nice. So I was very proud of that, but as I say, that's my family. So, oh, do you know, I've been on here for 19 minutes. This is going to be very long. So anyway, what I want you to do is go across to the other girls' channels and watch their videos. And also, I'm challenging a new YouTuber, and she's called What Jew Loves, and I'm going to link a channel, and I'll probably put some screenshots in of her channel for her to answer all the questions. So sometime in the next 2 weeks, she will answer these questions. And Julia, if you let me know when, I'll put a message on my community to say that you're going to answer the questions. So this is just some shots from Julia's channel. So pop across and get to know her before she actually does the challenge. That's the end of the Sunday Sunshine Show. So you've got to pop along to the other girls' channels. That's Busy Bee Marie, Maria Crocker, and Karen from Geordie Grandma. And then if you want to take a peek at Julia's channel, her channel's called What Ju Loves. So I'll put it in the description box so you can get a feel for her before you watch her videos. And I'd love you to subscribe to her channel. Let's try and build up her subscribers. Okay, bye for now.